All right. What's up? What's up? What's up, action figure fans, and toy collectors, and all you crazy fucks? As you can tell, I look exhausted. It's been a really long week, but after 2 months, almost to the day, what are we? December 6th. So let's say this was shipped out or was ordered. Say ordered October 10th. I thought it was originally coming from the Netherlands, but I should have realized it's coming. It came all the way from Deutschland, from Germany. And before we get started, I'll say thank you very much to my friend Mick Drago for introducing me to this line. Um, well, let's get started. Back in the 70s, the people at Kenner decided to come out with a line of figures that were 100% accurate, I guess, in uniform and accessories as what was the Boy Scouts of America. The bodies on these figures they're incredibly articulate. There's great things you can do with them as far as posing and so on. But the interesting thing about them is that they have this one hand, which is always in the Scout salute. And if you move the left arm up and down and your figure's not broken, he'll actually salute. He'll raise his right arm by moving the left arm up and down. He came in these closed boxes with these windows, or you see they're normally folded. People fold them from way, which is a shame because they really don't know this one's not folded. But then later they wound up putting them in these Windows boxes, which are really much harder to find and quite a bit more expensive. This one's in okay shape. They also made the Cub Scout figures. They made it first. They made the African American version, or black. You guys are whatever the right term is today. I can't keep up with the world anymore. Then they made Cub Scouts, which they made one that was white or Caucasian, one that was black or African American. And this came in, obviously you see it's in the Windows box. This is probably one of the harder ones to get, is the Dave Cub figure. I don't know if it was the amount of production or so on, but all of the uniforms on these figures are accurate to the uniform of the time. I mean, everything, the stickers, which were their badges, the kerchiefs, the metal buckles, everything was 100% accurate and approved by the Boy Scouts of America. Now, when they started these up, they made them, I don't want to go too much into these because it's not really about these. It's just kind of based off these. But they made these with some really cool box sets, things that a Boy Scout would probably do. And then eventually they expanded on that. They started putting things in place that a Boy Scout might not do. So one of the things that they might have is this weather station set. This is kind of something that a Boy Scout probably could build and have a weather station. And then they got as ridiculous as, well, they're going to be in a hot air balloon set. Boy Scouts in a hot air balloon. And they're going to, whatever. I don't know any Boy Scouts on hot air balloons. I'm pretty sure they wouldn't allow them. Even back in the 70s or earlier, all the way back to when they were first started back in the 1920s or 30s, I think it was. And the idea behind Boy Scouts was to teach boys to be better citizens and to respect God and all these things. Hence, they've changed because the times have changed. And no offense, anyone out there, but it's fucking ridiculous. The whole world right now, I can't even. My opinions are unbelievable what goes on. But they did some really cool stuff. This is a very cool set. It literally came with a balloon inside, and you could hang it over a door, make it go up and down, and so on. But these accessory sets were very, very cool. They even had something where they would put stars on the boxes, and depending what set you got would be a number of stars. And if you cut these stars off, there's a little comic inside each one of these sets. If it was a figure, it was basically a comic set about what the Boy Scouts are, who they are, and what they do. And one of these would be kind of the comic about this adventure. And then the back, there'd be a catalog. And in that catalog, you could collect stars, and you could then do mail-aways. They had 3 sets you could get. There was I forgot what the set was called. Bear with me. This is the High Adventure set, which this is original. It's in the original bag. It's not opened, as you can see. This set right here, which is one of my favorites. It's mostly parts that you would find in other sets, but there are some unique pieces. And it's kind of a tower, like what I showed you, kind of a tree with a tower. That's a piece. But this was a mail away, and I think this was maybe like 15 stars, and you'd send $1 with it or something for ship, or maybe 25 cents, I don't know, 50 cents. And so this is an original sealed set that was mail away. They're very hard to find, these sets, whether they're loose or sealed, for a number of reasons. One, you had to mail away for it, and not every kid was doing this because their parents probably didn't want to send away for more toys in the mail. And two, the pieces get lost. These Steve Scout sets came with tremendous amount of accessories. They were kind of like G.I. Joe in a 9-inch format, if you will, but all based on kind of these camping or scout accessory type things. They also, another set, this one is not in the original packaging, but this was the High Adventure Weather Shelter. And this was 15 stars. It is complete, has all these little poles and so on. And essentially it was a cold weather tent you could see in the back. Now, I did get a loose one of these for $3, which I'm so excited about because these are very hard to find. This is a complete set, and not in the original packaging. It would have come in something like you probably saw over there, I'm guessing. And then eventually the last set, which is the coolest set, which I have in Someone Got One. They kept the mailer box, which is amazing because this is unreal. This goes back to the 70s. A Thomas Charlier 639 Schwartz, Green Bay, Wisconsin, 54302. Kenner Products, a division of General Mills Fun Group, Inc., and they have a little Play-Doh logo, and it's Kenner, it's fun, a little Play-Doh logo. 912 Sycamore Street, Cincinnati, Ohio. The cost of mailing this package was 24 cents. You cannot even mail a letter for 24 cents. And inside, you will find that there is a Bill Scout figure. And Bill Scout, this one's actually quite minty, had a short set. It was a summer set, if you will. The T-shirt, shorts, shoes, even a little sticker. Now, what's interesting about this is these heads, I've seen them very, 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 very blonde. And I've seen ones like this where very few. I haven't seen a ton of examples because they're very hard to find. There was a guy who posted two that he has. This one is actually quite minty. I don't think it was ever played with. Actually, it wasn't played with. I could tell you. Everything is still crisp on it. It's still the Steve Scout figure. I think I don't even want to move his arm because it hasn't been moved. Mine's a little bit tanner than the rest. Not quite as brown as the Steve Scout figure, but it's not as blonde as I've seen some pictures and maybe pictures that flash or whatever. Anyway, now that you got a little history of that, and I have all these different sets, and I have a ton of loose ones over there. They had giant 3-foot towers. I have both sets of those are pretty cool. Other companies started making things for them, and other companies must have struck deals with Kenner, because the next thing that we found was this figure here, who kind of has this Bionic Man, Big Jimish kind of head. It's kind of hard to say, but this is Furga, who was Furga was an Italian doll and action figure maker, initially a doll maker, if I remember. And he has this kind of blue jumpsuit, almost like a Bionic Man. I'll show you some other examples, but he has the Steve Scout salute hand on him. Now, he was not marketed as a Boy Scout in any way whatsoever. I'm going to show you what they look like in the packages. Again, here's the blue set, and you can see they got him on the back. He's kind of this action guy. You see some of these sets on the side, and these are relevant because these sets you're seeing on the side are what were shared amongst Kenner with the Boy Scout, originally by them, then to Furga, and then eventually I'm going to show you with Action Man Dickie from Germany. Here's the red one. Same figure. I mean, he's about as $6 million man knockoff as I think you can find. Again, he came in this blue and this red only, and then he had all of these sets. Now, what is kind of cool about some of these is that the Italian sets had some of their own things that they did, individual from Kenner, and Steve Scout had sets that other companies didn't do. So let's take a quick example. These are some OK Mike sets that only OK Mike had. There was no Kenner Steve Scout sets for this. I don't know. Actually, I shouldn't say I don't know if Action Man Dickie, but I doubt it. This is the mechanic set. So they had several sets. I think there were 5 sets. There was the pilot, the safari guy, the doctor. We had this Marine, and then we have this mechanic. The one I don't have is this Army guy Marine. I don't have that, but I have this mechanic set. I mean, they've gone so far as to put a wrench, a screwdriver, and pliers inside there. A briefcase, I think it's supposed to be a mechanic's tool set, to be honest with you, but so on. Here is an example of the pilot set. You can see it's got a little map, little suitcase, pilot hat, and so on. And of course, we have the doctor set. Now, His stethoscope normally would be up here, and it fell down over here. You can see it, but it's white suit, white shoes. Again, white little suitcase. And then here's the safari set, which is really cool in my opinion. You've got the safari set. The binoculars are quite small. He's got this double barrel shotgun, a little unique. He's got this red handled knife and this red sheathing right there, and so on in the safari set. He's back in here for a moment. And again, these are made by Furga, F-U-R-G-A. The character's name is OK Mike. And it says, La Ventura e la sua vita. Adventure is his life. Yes. Careful with those. Again, they are from the 70s. Is this? Yeah, I'll show you something interesting that I was able to pick up. This is actually one of the display boxes. A few of these have floated around eBay. I was actually able to get one. And they had all kinds of sets that you put inside here. This was a store display box, if you will. And some of the other sets they came up with were these. Now, all of these little sets, this metal detector, this SOS set where you have a little backpack and you could, take off. It has OK Mike stuff on the back again. We have this one, which you press the button and the little disc spins up into the air, kind of like G.I. Joe had. There's a grappling hook. This is a kind of a fire extinguisher set. You could fill it with water, actually shoot water out of it. We also have, this is a tent. Yeah, this is a inflatable tent, I believe it is. Again, Steve Scout had these sets as well. And then we have this expandable bridge. You'd carry the bridge. You could put a bridge, plastic bridge, I guess, wherever you want to go. So Steve Scout had these as well. The funny thing I'm going to say is I can get these from Italy, and these Italian sets. Same set as a Steve Scout set, just different packaging. You'll say Steve Scout for less than probably about a fourth or a fifth of the price of what the Steve Scout set will be. It's unreal how the carded Steve Scout sets are so expensive. I didn't realize there's that many collectors, but there are all other kinds of sets you could look at. So here's what I kind of want to focus on because I got a bunch of sets. This is the Steve Scout, the OK Mike set that matches our Steve Scout set. Do I have this? Oh, I don't have this one on a card. This also came as a Steve Scout set, and you can see it's got all the equipment inside. These are Steve Scout pieces. I have this loose, and anything that had a Boy Scout sticker inside these packages normally also had the Boy Scout sticker with it, which is interesting because he's not supposed to be a Boy Scout. So it came right from Kenner. Just to give you an idea, this is actually Man Dickie, which is the German version of this. It was the same Steve Scout body, but he had a different head. The one that I've seen, because my friend Mick sent it over, looked more like a Fighting Yank head. These almost look like a G.I. Joe head compared to the Steve Scott head, but you can see the accessories are the same. And if I was to show all three of these, if I had them, you would see they're the same. Now, what is different is that on the OK Mike packaging, this is the Steve Scout photo. It's the same picture. They just rebranded the area. This one, not so much. It might be the same. Yeah, it looks a little bit the same, but it looks like they zoomed out and moved a few pieces around. These are the only box sets I've ever seen for Action Man Dickie. One, because they come from Germany, and two, they're very hard to find. This is the Steve Scout Warning from Thunderhead Weather Station. I showed you this before. You see it's got two Steve Scout figures. It's got the accessories and so on, and this is what it looks like on the back. This is what the Italian OK Mike says looks like. Practically the same thing, right? I'll give you a side-by-side, make it a little bit easier. Right, there's your side-by-side of the two sets. If you look at the back, there's more, all right? Let's take OK Mike away for a second, and let's go to our second Action Man Dickie set. And these just came in the mail today. I waited 2 months for these, like I said. Here's your Action Man Dickie Warning from Weatherhead Station set. Well, let's get rid of the glare. Here we go, that way. And then let's turn it around. And you can see, again, the same set. Now, this one actually looks like the tape has either been cut or came apart. I'm curious what's inside because you never know in an old box if there's really going to be the toys or somebody stuffed a brick in there or Legos or whatever. So before I say, hey, I have this complete set of this. Yeah, this looks like, see if we can get this out real gently. So get that flap around. There we go. One flap. Just gotta, yeah, because this one's looks like it's starting to tear a little bit. Okay, there we go. There we go. Looks like it's new. It looks like somebody either cut the tape ripped, or the tape deteriorated over time. But yep, this looks good. Somebody had opened this already. Okay, and what they did was they repackaged some of the stuff. Just an empty box. They repackaged some of the stuff back into here. What would have been happening is you could see all these holes in here. This is where all the threads were that would hold the stuff to the box, right? They used to kind of sew the things down, if you will. But you can see there's just plastic. It's the same Steve Scout items. The flag, yeah, this is pretty much a minty set. All the pieces are here, it looks like. Yeah, all the pieces for the table, the base of the tree, all these things. And then these are all pieces like flags. There's 2 flags in there. There's a radio. There's a stump. There's an antenna. There's a little telegraph machine, if you will. So pretty cool. So again, that's interesting. What is that? Well, that's interesting. There's a little piece left over of a made in Taiwan sticker. I don't know if that's accidental or not, but little piece of a made in Taiwan sticker right there. Interesting. All right, so you get an idea. The idea here is that, or the theme here is that all of these figures shared common accessories, and companies were either striking deals with, stealing, or borrowing from other companies. What's up there, Scotty? All right, so let's see what we got here. All right, so let me get this back end a little bit easier. Happy Saturday morning. Yes, it is a happy Saturday morning. That is correct. So you're collecting packaging, essentially. Yep, that's pretty much what it comes down to. It's pretty much the same accessories. It's just the packaging. As a matter of fact, it's funny you say that, because last year as a gift from a friend, I received, who's also a collector of other things, I received this, get this right, empty box, which was the, this is your Man Dickie, Man Dickie packaging, as opposed to our OK Mike packaging. And again, the figure bodies were the same. The heads were different. The outfits, were the outfits the same on the Action Man Dickie and the OK Mike? I'm not sure. I believe my friend Mick told me that, yes, they used the same red outfit. There's no blue outfit in the Action Man Dickie as far as anything I've ever seen or anything that's ever brought up. There's the red outfit, so they changed the head. Again, the bodies are the same, and they have the same articulation. But yeah, that's there. This was the only thing Action Man Dickie I had for a while. It's kind of got him on the back doing push-ups and so on, like the Steve Scout figure. And he looks very much like Bionic Man. He's even got his little sticker over here, like the Bionic Man used to have. So things were borrowed and stolen and all kinds of shit all the time, which is interesting. But yes, for the most part, it's pretty much packaging. The Action Man Dickie figures are really hard to find. The Steve Scout stuff, I would tell you, the balloon is really hard to get. The balloon set, that one's in package. I had a loose one that I sent over to Danny Gates. Gave him that one so he could have one for his collection. And these carded sets for OK Mike are a real bitch. The hardest ones I've come across are the Army guy, which would be the least that I wanted anyway. I know there's one out there. And I think the the Safari one. Those are the 2 hardest ones that I found. You know, then they even repackage things like OK Mike would repackage things that Steve Scout didn't package in this kind of box, where it was, maybe they did. No, maybe they did. But it's kind of a backpack, and you put batteries in it. And as you connect each one of these devices, one's a flashlight, one's like a drill, and one's like a chainsaw, and it'll make noise or whatever. But I actually opened this to see what was inside, and even though it says OK Mike everywhere, every piece inside, or the big piece inside, have a Boy Scout logo on them, which just further shows that. This is another OK Mike set. This is 40 meters into the deep, and in the Kenner Boy Scout, this is the Spanish. I think it's the Spanish galleon set, which come with the treasure and so on, things like that. I actually have more boxed OK Mike stuff than I do Steve Scout, which is interesting. This is one time ago. I think this is At the Top of the World or something like that. I forget what this means in Italian. I have to look. It's been a while. But again, all Steve Scout pieces. They even went so far in the OK Mike, and I don't know if they did this for Action Man Dickie. I have to talk to Nick because he's way more of an authority on this. He's the one who got me started. This is 20 degrees below zero. And this is a Steve Scout set as well with this little snowmobile vehicle on the back and so on. This has been, these were, I'm not going to try and take that off now. We'll play with that masking tape later. But yeah, essentially all the pieces are in here. These boxes have just seen better days. But yes, the majority of this stuff I would probably tell you is probably based on box and so on. For me, it's quite interesting to have to find this stuff. Not easy. The backpack looks like, so the backpack does, well, it was Kenner, right? It's pretty close. It's different. I think wasn't Mattel, didn't Mattel do the Mork and Mindy figures? Was it Mattel or Kenner? I forget, but I always thought that the Mork backpack was the same as the Big Jim backpack from Mattel, but I could be wrong. But yeah, but this is the box as it showed up from Germany, 2 months in the mail. All ripped open and so on. Thank God the guy was smart enough to wrap this shit in plastic, but he really used a very bad box. This is not even a shipping box. This is like maybe something, I don't even know what you'd put that in. It's a bad shipping box. So Mork was so if Mork was by Mattel, then I'd be right there. It's like the Big Jim backpack, which you'll probably actually have one right here. I think. Which should be, Yep. This one's missing the Big Jim sticker off the back. I have a few of them and pieces broke on the front, but I don't know if this one works. Report your position. Yeah, so these pieces would get broken very easily. The only way to really fix this is to snap this open and replace the pieces inside, but I'm not going to even waste my time. It's just, I think I got this as part of something, and then there was the handle to carry it and so on. But yeah, that I believe is your Mork backpack. So that would be Mattel, just like Big Jim. Anyway, that's it for this morning. I gotta go get some other shit done. I just thought I'd bring this up. I've been waiting for 2 months for this thing to arrive. Yesterday I came to the house and they said, "Oh, you need to sign for it." I'm like, "Oh, you gotta be kidding me." I hate when places put signature required because the mailman never comes when I'm home. So it's usually a trip the next day. All right. Other than that, thanks you guys for watching. I appreciate it. Thanks for stopping by. And if you haven't joined our room, The Toys We Love on Facebook, I'd suggest you guys come in and take a look. We talk about all kinds of shit. And it is a free speech room. So you don't get moderated for posting things that could be